welcome back to the horror show. March Parker.
And you got Jaime and Fuego here. We are returning for another patron request. That's right. This one being from, as we consult our list, Humanoids from the Deep. And this is from Teddy Brown.
Yes.
Thanks so very much for the support. Teddy, we appreciate you, good sir. This film was also known as Monster when it was released in regions of Japan and Europe. And that's actually what it said on Prime when I pulled it up and watched it. Monster! I was like, okay, sure, why not?
Okay. That's a different way of going with it. Like, you name it one way, and then you have the credits on it. So that explains it for me. Thank you. Because I was confused. I was like, okay.
Well, I was just floored because of the fact that this movie comes out in 1980, and it is very of the times.
It really is.
The chauvinism, to the women exploitation, to the violence, to the fact that it's very obviously a Jaws reactionary movie, where after Jaws came out in 77, I want to say, 76, 77, 75, somewhere. Anyway, just the back half of the 70s, where everybody trying to recapture that sort of, okay, small coastal town, there's creatures in the water, people get eaten, there's disagreements, amongst the town people. This had pretty much all of those in play.
It had everything from the score, the creature, the acting. I mean, the gore was on point. It was a really fun movie to watch.
Yeah, it was one of those so silly, it's actually amusing. And, I mean, you've got James Horner doing the script, for God's sake. New World Pictures puts this out, and you could tell there was money behind it, Some of the, explosion and pyro scenes and stuff, even though the creature designs look very dated, you could tell they spent some money on this stuff, including some of the gore and the kills and everything.
Yeah.
And, it's on a larger scale than I was anticipating. I thought it was going to be super low budge, and that it actually was not, surprisingly.
No, it wasn't. And the creatures actually made me feel like they were doing kind of a homage to, the 1950s kind of creatures, because
From the Black Lagoon kind of thing. Yeah, or Swamp, mushing some Swamp Thing aspects, and then they've got these large, long appendage things going down, and
the massive fangs and the claws.
And also a subplot that you mentioned in the group thread, which I hadn't watched it yet. You're like, oh, the fish rape is great.
There's a lot of fish rape going on.
Yeah, there's your fair share of it in this. But, this was one of those, it was so over-the-top, ridiculous bonkers that I actually enjoyed it.
You enjoyed the fish raping?
No, the movie as a whole, for God's sake. But there was so much fish rape. There really was.
Yeah, it threw me. I wasn't expecting it. It's definitely something I hadn't experienced before. I have seen some tree raping before in Evil Dead. That's happened, but I've never seen a creature from the deep, just...
Well, he did carry away the woman, remember, but we never saw what happened after the fact, and we didn't until, The Shape of Water or whatever, but that was a willing, partnering, so, I don't know, 1980. This movie is very 1980.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I love the hair. The hair was one of my favorite parts.
All the women have the perms going on and stuff.
The perfect hair, and the waft, the featheredness.
And our lead guy named Jim, he's very much like the stoic, every man, I eat my meat and potatoes and go home, bang my wife. He's got, the Burt Reynolds kind of thing going on almost, I guess that was very, very popular in the late 70s and everything, and, but...
Tons of titties.
Natural titties.
Tons
of boobs in this movie.
Yeah, maybe one of them was questionable, but there's a lot of good...
There's a genuine obscene amount of boobs in this, and that's coming from a red-blooded heterosexual male, the scene with the puppet was just too much.
Yeah.
The puppet in the tent, and she just starts taking all her clothes off, and she's charmed by the puppet, and he's like, I got a piece of wood for you, darling. And she's like, will I get splinters? And you're like, what?
Yeah.
This movie, man. Okay, so story, before we get too ahead of ourselves. So story for this one is there is a Northern California coastal fishing town near Humboldt County, and they think they've fished out all of the salmon, and lo and behold, this happens just as this canning company wants to move in and just start bringing even more out of the waters, when the fishermen are already in the midst of a disagreement amongst themselves and the rest of the townspeople. Is this a good idea? We think we've already overfished this water. What the hell are we going to do? There's also the Native American perspective, where those who used to have the land are talking about going to court and fighting to get the land back. So there's all of the little subplots, just like in Jaws, where there is, just the townspeople bickering about whether they should close down the beaches, and the tourist money that's brought to the community. So there is there's subplots to this. They may not be that compellingly put together compared to the creature stuff, but Up the coast there is a company, the Cannon Company, that wants to swoop in. They've been apparently experimenting on salmon, trying to make them bigger and more plentiful for like 7 years, and you meet the scientist woman who is behind this, and that's when you figure out, oh, the salmon haven't necessarily been overfished. There's weird, like mutated creatures in the waters that are probably eating a bunch of the salmon.
Frog people.
Yes, they have probably eaten said mutated salmon, and it has in turn caused them to mutate themselves, and that's what's turned them into these moss men. Somewhere like they start out as fish in the evolutionary stage, and in their last stage they're humanoid. And they kill the men, and they go to town on the women in other ways and use them as embryonic devices.
Yep,
so.
they are evolved enough that they know to push their evolvedness to the next level. They have to mate with the female humans, and that's why they kill the men's and they kidnap the ladies and have their thing. Yeah, it's a
weird movie.
It's a really weird movie, but it was really entertaining to watch.
Very much so, actually.
Yeah, it was really cool. And when you're looking at the acting was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I was really impressed. I was waiting for, like, especially after coming off of Hell Night and watching this, I was like, oh god, all right, here we go again. But everybody did a really good job. There was only one moment that I thought was a little awkward, was when the scientist lady was having her all like, I told you guys this was gonna happen. Why are you saying my science is bad? And I swear to God, the rest of the people in the room were men, and they're all looking at her like zoned completely out, like nobody heard a word that she said. And I was like, is this real life? Like, I really felt she was so passionate and strong about it, but then they're all like, not listening to a word that she was saying.
And that is one thing that they bring out in both performance and in script a couple times. You can tell it's like a few years removed from the women's liberation movement, and it's very I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar, and yet there's lots of dumb chauvinist male performances in this. And I mean, that's why at one point said scientist woman, me and my lady were laughing because she's like, I'm a professional scientist, and I just started laughing that she had to phrase it like that. I'm like, ooh, there's some rough writing dialogue-wise here, and there is some rough dialogue, but surprisingly, all of the performances actually bring it out well. Jim, our lead guy, the Native American dude who he kind of buddies up with, his little brother, even the villains they give some gravitas to, despite the fact that there's a lot of Native American racial slurs from them.
I was surprised.
Yeah,
I was not expecting it.
They're making them bad news. They're talking about killing this guy, but they're calling him like a braid and all this different stuff. I was just like, man, this is very dated with the insults.
And it all started because the town was having the fight with the Native Americans, and then all of a sudden, all of the dogs died except for the Native Americans' dog.
Yeah, and this is a movie that doesn't shy away from killing children or animals. They kill a ton of dogs in this movie.
Oh my god, that whole opening where it wasn't the opening, but like
it's the first like 20 minutes or so of the movie.
Yeah,
that's where you realize the stakes are a little bit higher than you may have realized.
It was pretty gruesome, and I was like, oh man, am I gonna handle this movie? But I braved through it. I got through the children murders and the dog murders.
I'm sure the dog murders hit you way harder because they usually do.
It was gross too when they finally discovered the dog body. Oh my god! It was like this really mangled dog body wrapped.
Where they're out there looking for Darren, and they're like, Darren, and that scene went on a little long, where they're just like let's look at the trail of slime. Let's go investigate, and they trail it all the way
to the ocean. But it paid off. I thought it paid off, and then it went from there to like, you went to the docks and there was like all of these dead dogs in the docks. I was like, and they're not just like, oh, I'm dead. It's gruesome. It's gory. A lot of practical.
Which is a good segue into the effects. Obviously, they jaws it with these creatures, as was the thing for a while. Even in our last review, we were talking about the jaws factor, in the fact that it saves you production money if you don't show your creature till later on. You just give those little hints at it, and you see like first person kills and things of that nature. And there's some of that. And I will say that when we see them on like the beach in the midway of the movie where they find the nest and all that other stuff, that didn't look as good. But when there's this big climax at the carnival at the very end, and they're shown in darkness and with more slime and shadowing and stuff, they looked significantly better and more menacing. And the weird like brain appendage stuff. I mean, the design of these creatures was just... It was like
a kitchen sink.
Yeah.
They literally threw everything in
Every little bit
pot.
in there.
It's like, all right, we're gonna give him a big brain. We're gonna make him look
Mars
like a
Attacks.
fish.
They had,
We're gonna
the
give
Mars
him
Attacks brains going on.
Yeah, and then they got an alligator tail, and you're like, what? And then like these big hand claw things. So
yeah, almost like mandible sort of thing, like we were implying earlier. But
yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, and there's just crazy. There's lots of gore in that last big confrontation where the whole like celebration carnival or whatever the hell it is gets attacked and stuff. But
it's a fair, whatever.
Yeah. But the score shows. I mean, with James Horner, a award-winning, Academy Awards, all kinds of different things, scoring this. The score is competent. You can tell with the fact that they blow up a boat, they blow up a vehicle that goes off a bridge. I mean, they didn't skimp on budget. We were talking about this off camera before we started filming this. This is not. It didn't turn into a big blockbuster hit, but they sure tried with it. At least they put enough talent and money behind it, and it's very of the era. But if you like this sort of crazy creature, silly, so over the top, it's so bad it's good.
It's a drive-in movie.
Very
is what
much
it
so.
is. This is a drive-in movie weekend special. So if you want to put
directed
up
by a woman who worked with Roger Corman for a long time, so that gives you every regard of what this could be about.
Put your projector screen up by your pool, hang out in the lounge at night, and just hang out with the kids. I think this would be a fun movie. Yeah. Well, maybe not the kids, because there's a lot of nudity,
lots of sex and nudity,
and a lot of violence. So I mean, pick your poison.
Yeah.
Maybe your friends.
There's so many horn doggy men in this movie. It's ridiculous. And without spoiling, though, the ending, when it went all alien in the ending.
Yeah.
Ugh.
What? Yeah, it's such a strange movie.
Just like you said, the kitchen sink, they tried to cram so many different influences of the time in. Alien had come out a year or so before, Jaws a few years before that. Now that I think about it, I think Jaws was 75, so I'm a dunce if I said 77 initially. However,
you said all the 70s.
Yes, exactly. It came out in the mid to late 70s.
1970s.
Yeah, and this is 1980, but yet still very much a film of its previous decade, especially the back half of it. So
it was very enjoyable. I recommend watching it. Do it.
I actually would too. Yeah. This was it was so bad it was good, sort of thing, and that does happen with schlocky stuff.
It was Teddy, right?
Teddy Brown.
Teddy Brown.
Yeah.
Thank you, Teddy. That was a great suggestion.
It was.
I think that covers everything, right? Did we miss everything?
Nope. I think we're good. This is one that I honestly would have been curious about Cecil's opinion on it with the creature aspect.
I think you would enjoy it, and based off of a recommendation, once he has a moment, if he gets a moment ever.
He doesn't have moments lately, but
he can put it on in between things.
Yeah, as he's playing the Red Dead Redemptions or something. I don't know what he plays all the time.
But this movie is worth it. If you love creatures, monsters, this is definitely what you're gonna get.
Hell yeah. So once again, thanks to Teddy and thanks to all of the patrons that show us support on the monthly. You are greatly appreciated. If you're seeing this on the YouTube side of things, once we turn it over and debut it there, and you want to become a patron, go to the link below. Also check out our tea store and like, share, subscribe, do all of that jazziness. We greatly appreciate it. But until next spooktacular time, I've been Jaime and Fuego.
I'm Marcia Parker.
And remember, stay scared of those humanoids in the deep.